to kind of like set the context, you need 3-4 steps prior. Step 1 is connect to data sources. Second step is to enrich and relate. Then third, you need to apply those models. In the case that I show you here, we have essentially translated the whole of the SSM, core 8 risk categories, plus the sub-risk categories. That's a universe of, roughly speaking, 80 plus classifier models. What you see in the first place is, from a perspective of a supervisor, these are the elements you need to know. We automatically tell you for the banks you supervise, for the banks you're in correspondence with, what happened. How do we know that? Because you will have told us so. For each of these banks, we automatically generate kind of like 360-degree views, where we automatically take all the data from all the different sources and put it together, and as an example, see now news around Crédit Agricole or documents that we have found, and also related companies, related financial institutions. So we start to figure out in the background all that is normally quite complicated and complex. Now we go to the engine part of it. What you see here is essentially sort of documents from a holistic point of view, and what we have now done as an example, we have now started to risk assess, sentiment assess the documents that we see here along those core 8 risk categories. As an example, internal governance risk, liquidity adequacy, and so on. We also have started to look at institution sentiments. This gives you an indication where to look first. I always pick one that I love, the Nederlandse Waterstaatsbank. And now we have here a number of documents from these folks. Pillar 3 disclosure report from the said bank. And now what you see here is we have now started to apply all these models. So we have started to apply, as an example, internal and governance risk, including the subsection, which is part of the SSM catalog, the remuneration section. And now effectively we can tell you that on page 11 of this 25-page report, that allows now the regulator, that allows the supervisor to focus her attention to a passage that is relevant and make now an assessment on this, rather than first spend 2 hours finding it and our attention span after 10 minutes going down the drain. Step 2 is now to compare that to the regulation in place, neatly in one case. What you now can do is, obviously you can say, this actually here is relevant to me for my reporting. Grab this part of the report and export this. And at the same time, we know in what context the document is, we know what she looked at, we know the qualifiers of these documents. And essentially now the human in the loop will exactly tell us through a feedback loop what is and what is not relevant. And we're going to use this to retrain the models. We start essentially to aggregate all these reports into what you maybe have seen or not, into these SREP reports, these very structured reporting elements, where we obviously can do exactly the same, but where you also now can do analysis across kind of like business model versus risk category, but also do that with a number of other such dimensions, overall SREP score versus business model, and so on and so on. The same now goes obviously with the findings data. We don't have findings data, I believe, here, only very few findings data setups, and the same goes with measures. They effectively then take an action from the central regulator. What we also now do, we start to associate news events to this. So if a bank reports XYZ, counterparty risk of XYZ, we, as an example, associate the relevant news reports coming from trustable sources, not just the open internet with whatever rubbish is published there, but actual trustable sources. That's what I wanted to show you. So where you apply AI straight to improve the efficiency massively in terms of the accuracy, but also the cost.